All right, guys, welcome back. Listen, we got a full house today. Shorty, you've been out the country. You got to tell us about how your vacation. How was it? How was everything?
It was really good. I took my son to Ethiopia for his college graduation gift.
Okay.
And we got
Congrats on, he just graduated with his bachelor's, right?
Yeah. Yep,
Congrats.
Yep.
That's definitely clap that up.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what I'm
what's up.
saying?
That's
Clap
dope.
that
Another
up.
black man with a college degree.
Yeah, I
do
love
it.
that.
We had a good time. It was cool. We got to meet some family members we never met. I got to see some family members again that I met a couple years ago. And I got to get humbled real quick. You know, I always love to talk about how we're not free here in America, right?
Yeah.
I want more rights, man.
Yeah.
They are not free in Ethiopia, okay? It is very much a militarized police state where all of the police officers are dressed in full military gear with
Wow.
automatic and semi-automatic rifles, and they're on every single corner.
Oh, my God.
And they're staring you down, waiting for you to act like you want to do something you're not supposed to do. So, yeah, that was kind of humbling. You know, I was like, okay, maybe in America I'm actually a little bit more free.
Oh, yeah.
Than I give credit
We
for.
got a little privilege here that we don't like to acknowledge. But
Oh, yeah,
it exists.
Americans we're the most privileged. Like, that's why people call us crybabies, and, we cry about a lot of stuff. We complain about a lot of stuff. But, man, you travel the world. When you travel the world, you start to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Even in other countries, like in Amsterdam, like, in other places in Europe, like, it seems they're the closest to our, reality, and it's a lot of stuff about their lifestyle over there that we would look at like, oh, hell no, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even from their tax system, their healthcare system, their entrepreneurship scene, like, they're not as entrepreneurial as we are there. So, I mean, it's a lot of things about life overseas and elsewhere that we don't, that we kind of take for granted.
Yeah, it gave me a bit of perspective. I still think we could be more free here in America.
Oh,
but
of course.
It did offer me a really good perspective, and it showed my son something new, too. So it was fun. Glad to be back, though.
So you're from Minnesota. When did your family, what am I trying to say?
Immigrate.
Migrate here.
So I came when I was like 5 years old. So I'm actually Eritrean. I'm from Eritrea, which is a
Okay.
different country than Ethiopia.
Okay.
But we gained our independence from Ethiopia like over 30 years ago. And Eritrea is like really under a very strict dictatorship. So it's not like the best place to go to. So I wanted to take my son at least like to
Somewhere.
the region where he could kind of get familiar with.
Yeah.
A lot of our culture is the same. We eat the same food. Some of our languages are the same. So I felt like it would be a next best,
I
place.
think that's always. I think black people who have a connection to something other than America has a chip on their shoulder, and that gives them some type of like freedom that regular African Americans don't have. And a lot of African Americans, we don't have a connection to nowhere. Like the furthest back in my family that I know is that my granddad.
Down south.
My granddad was down south. He had a bunch of money. He owned a bunch of land, and some white kids came up and stole his was like stealing his watermelons, and then he like cursed at the little white kids, get y'all motherfucking whatever. They went and told the police. They told their people they was trying to hang him. Boom, he left. They stole his land. He migrated to Detroit.
Yep.
That's where he had my granddad. My granddad was the only child. He met my grandmother. She was also happened to be from Mississippi. Then that's the line in the tree that started my family, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
That's why I've been wanting to do like the African ancestry thing to really find like where my roots are from. But like Micaiah, for example, her family from Belize.
Right.
So like that's a thing. Like
She got a connection.
her grandmother still looks
She has a
like
culture in
like
her.
she had So I think that is a plus though, and to be able to bring your son and introduce him to that, he's always going to have that to introduce his kids and his wife and everybody too. So I think that is beautiful.
He got to see the differences and the similarities. Because there's tons of similarities.
Yeah.
Like, just being melanated people, we have so many similarities.
Yeah.
and
So
we don't
much stuff
even
in common.
realize it. It's like some of the stuff
Yeah.
they doing. Oh, I feel like I'm right at home,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know I told you I just spent quite a bit of time in Minnesota, and when I was there, what I learned was there's a lot of people from Somalia there.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember one time
I wonder why that. Like, why is that?
Oh, because Minnesota has a really strong economic base.
Okay.
So Minnesota's financial model was similar to the UAE. So, so in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, there's a lot of companies that are headquartered there because on the international scale, they have a really low corporate tax rate. So way back in the day, Minnesota set their corporate tax rate at like 2%.
Wow.
So
yeah, you're going to attract everybody with that. Yeah.
So it made a
Yeah.
lot of companies headquarter.
I think Target is
themselves.
headquartered out there too.
A lot of companies.
Target is actually founded in Minnesota. So
Okay.
you have companies like Kraft, Land O'Lakes, Pillsbury. These are all founded in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you have companies who were not founded there who have headquarters there because of that attractive corporate tax rate.
Yeah.
And so you have all these companies, and so they have a strong economic base. So on a federal level, Somalia had the whole Black Hawk Down situation happening like around 1993.
Yep, had a civil war going on, yeah.
They had a civil
Okay.
war going on. The United States went, and their plan was to uproot the current government and then put in a better or more agreeable government regime.
Yeah.
But before they could do the transition, they got chased out by the rebel groups. So they just like abruptly left.
Yeah.
So when they abruptly left, the rebel groups completely took over. And they were in charge, and it was a lot of chaos going on. And so a lot of people were displaced. They were being murdered at large numbers. And so because America had a really big responsibility in that, they turned around and let a lot of the immigrants come to the United States. And so they identified Minnesota
Yeah,
as a strong
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
economic state that could sustain those refugees
Yeah.
Yeah.
who were like fleeing for their life.
Yep.
And so that's why we have a large Russian and Somalian immigration
Yeah.
like there.
They run everything in Minneapolis.
And then even when that kind of went away, right, even when it's not the government anymore, it's like the people, family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if some of my family goes and moves to Detroit and everything's good, they're going to tell the rest of the family,
Yep,
hey, come to
on over
Detroit.
here, yeah.
Right,
I
so
mean,
it's the
it's
same phenomena.
Like in Florida, it's a lot of Haitians. Like Andy was telling
Yeah.
us about how his family immigrated over here.
Yep. A lot of FAMU students are from Haiti. Some of my
yeah.
sister's best friends when she went to FAMU.
Kodak Black, he's from he Haitian. Like in Detroit, it's I don't know the real relationship with Michigan and like in Metro Detroit, but it's a lot of Arabs and
Yeah,
like
in Dearborn.
Dearborn.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's like
The
a
largest
thing.
population outside of the Middle East.
Yep. So I don't know why. I don't.
Yeah.
I just grew up and that was just a thing. But
Yeah.
now that we're talking about it, it just made me think about like Dearborn and the city and
Yeah.
how they run a whole lot there
Everything.
too.
A whole economic system, all based around their people. They got every resource they need, from the grocery stores,
liquor
to
stores,
the
they own
mechanics,
all the
to
liquor
the
stores,
doctors'
yeah.
offices, everything they need.
At the time, it probably had a strong economic base as well.
Yeah.
And they look at it like statewide. So they probably had enough money in the public, what is it called? Welfare, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
That could
support and
sustain them.
resources for them. So
Exactly.
Speaking of immigration and immigrants, this when I seen this story, I chuckled a little bit because I'm like, this. I don't think this is real. Like this can't be real, but apparently it is. The Department of Homeland Security is reviewing and listening to a pitch of a reality TV show where immigrants would compete for U.S. citizenship.
that's disgusting, bro.
It's kind of like do y'all remember when Trump had his show and they was like competing to be like a
Yes.
business person
Yeah,
and
like
all of this?
Omarosa was on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And reality TV is like it's crazy. So I can only imagine like these are people with real families and babies coming across trying to figure that out. But the show is in its early stages. It hasn't been approved or denied, which is crazy because you think it would have been denied like on arrival, but they're actually listening to this. The producer is a Canadian immigrant. His name is Rob Worsoff, with credits like The Millionaire Matchmaker and Duck Dynasty. I never heard of those shows. He began pitching this idea in the Obama era, and apparently it didn't get shut down, but it didn't get shut down, but it didn't grow legs to actually become in production. And they described the concept as a positive love letter to America, even though critics, think it's very exploitive. You're exploiting someone who's very vulnerable. What about the people who actually don't make it on the show? Like
Right.
you're on the show and you get denied. Like what are those people going to do? So, Shorty, I'm coming to you. What are your thoughts when you hear that, especially being someone who have family who immigrated to America, and like you said, you were just introducing your son to the homeland that you and your family are from.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's absolutely disgusting. It's the lowest of the low. You're literally exploiting people's trauma. Refugees, immigrants. I mean, these people are in the worst situation ever.
I mean, and we're all immigrants. If you really, if we're gonna go there,
Right.
Right. Yeah, I think it's so low. I think it's really exploiting people in the worst possible predicament. Like you said, who gets the citizenship? The person at the end who wins? What happens with the other people? Are you going
Right.
to pay these people? Because you can't really pay illegal immigrants, right? So are you going to give them some money? Are you going to be able to put them on payroll? Don't they have to have
Yeah.
what they need in order
do
to even
they
get
even
paid
have
by the
rights
network?
to sign contracts?
That's what I'm
no,
saying.
they can't.
I think it is so disgusting and so low. It makes a mockery of the situation, and you're putting people in a performative situation when in reality they need help.
It's life
Yeah.
or death for them.
Yeah, it is.
Either let them in or don't let them in. But you're going to exploit them and then don't let them in, and then you're going to make money, and then the show is going to be like wildly successful. The other shows that he did, Millionaire Matchmaker, this is hooking women up with millionaires, basically.
Yeah.
Or guys, with a woman millionaire
Yeah.
or whatever. Like every
Right.
other show that he's done is exploitive to a degree, but not so much as this. Like this is just awful.
But you know what? It is bad because it's on TV. But can we be surprised because America is built on exploitation of
Yeah.
people who are just trying to figure it out or
Yep.
put in a position that they didn't want to be in?
Yep.
It's just different now because it's like, oh, we're going to put it on television and like
Monetize
give it a
this.
little bit of a script and exactly monetize it. But that's truly the fundamentals of what this country has been built on anyway. So I can't say I'm surprised, but again, it is absolutely disgusting.
And what's the narrative of the show? Like, what's the narrative that you guys are gonna put on it? What's
Well,
the
it's
spin?
supposed to be
Well,
a
is it gonna,
love letter to
make
America.
us? Is it gonna make us feel more
Appreciative, like,
of
hey, these
immigrants?
people are trying to, by hook or crook, get into America, and you guys are in America, so maybe you should appreciate it more. I don't know if that's the.
Are you going to show their struggle? Are you going to make them relatable? Are you going to make us feel sorry for them and understand that they're human beings too?
And
They
most
deserve
of them
a
don't
shot?
even speak English. So I mean, are you gonna how you gonna do that? I mean, I don't really understand. I understand what they're trying to do, but I just think it's just a terrible. You know how like, have you ever worked in a job and like they ask you like, give us your best idea and your worst idea. Like, have y'all ever did like one of those work? Like, this is like one of those the worst ideas that people actually picked up. Like, hey, that's actually a good one. So I think it's
Shame on them.
yeah, it's
But it's on par, like you said.
Yeah.
it's
And
very
the timing.
classless, and I think it's actually going to go through. Because if you think about it, every major holiday that's came through over the last 100 days while Trump's been in office, they've like celebrated like by taking a shot at like taking control of the border. And I'm with taking control of the border and all of that. I understand that, but it's now becoming like a running joke in American politics of, displacing families and all of this. And I'm like, okay, I understand you don't want people coming over here illegal, people doing illegal things. I'm with that. But just putting it on display in terms of like a marketing ploy, I think that is,
showcasing it.
yeah. That's the problem.
It's so unserious, right? Just like Donald Trump's wall. What happened to the wall that you were building that you spent billions of dollars of our tax money on during your first round of presidency? And the wall was supposed to help tighten up the border, right? What happened to it? Like, it's so unserious. It's so unserious. It's more centered around hating people who don't look like you than really
Well, the problem is
securing
Here's the
anything.
problem: like his Trump wife and JD Vance wife are immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think like they would love.
But they're white. But they're white immigrants.
So-
It's just like the South African immigrants that he brought over here right now. The Afrikaners that are white. They're white.
I seen that. I didn't think that was real either until I started researching it. I'm like, is
it's
this
real?
is this like that? No, that was
He's
definitely
been
crazy.
he's been saying for years that he's not against immigration. He just wants immigrants from white countries.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
thing
what about
is,
they
hard.
trying to get people to pay for the $5 million? We talked about that. The $5 million gold card. Like he's basically saying you can pass all that by just paying us $5,000. I mean 5 million.
5 million. Yeah, but that's
Come
the
on.
thing is he wants. It's kind of weird. Like the white South Africans that he brought into the country are what I would compare to like hillbilly hicks. Seriously though, they're not the most.
I seen a picture of
they're-
it. They did it like
they're not
the hillbilly though.
Yeah, they're not the super university educated,
tech savvy.
Those are not. No,
You said
these
they're
are.
not the Elons of the world, right?
Yeah, they're the
South Africans
farmers.
that are.
They're
okay.
people who inherited farmland from their parents. They weren't doing anything with it. They already had money. They're a bunch of hillbilly and hicks because those are the perfect demographic that he wants to come in and be able to vote for him once
Yeah.
they have citizenship.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even, the demographic that he identifies as being the desired immigrants, it doesn't work because those are not the people who want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, but on the flip side, America is always going to have an issue with immigration because, you know, the Republicans are saying, oh, well, we want to shut the border down because they're letting a bunch of immigrants into democratic cities so they could get the population and now they get more electoral votes. And so I understand that concept. But now.
Doesn't work though.
But now, I mean, what is again, my problem is like World Envision, right? Mm-hmm. I got some friends. They own a multi-million-dollar clothing brand called World Envision. They have a young lady who's been a manager with them. She's from Spain. She has like I think she had 2 master's degrees because as long as she stay in school, they allow her to be here. But she
has a student visa.
Yes, and she got kicked out. She couldn't get like a regular visa to be, and she's very productive in society. And I'm like, I understand you kicking out the gang members and all of this, whatever. That's subjective. Kick them out. This girl got 3 degrees. She's working at a startup that she basically built, and like,
they don't care.
How the hell can like
the criminal thing?
But she white too, so it ain't like she's like a woman of color. Like no, she white as hell from Spain. And, like, she cool as hell. She been working with them, built their brand, helped them build their brand. And they, like she's in Spain now. And it broke our heart. We like, damn, Nadia's gone. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But,
because it's fear-mongering. The percentage of actual immigrants, illegal immigrants who are criminals is like 0.01. Nobody commits more crime in America than actual Americans.
I mean, of course. Yeah.
Like, crime in other countries... If we talk about crime in Guatemala, it's going to be like some rebel groups that are tied to the government.
Yeah.
When you talk about civilian on civilian crime that has nothing to do with war or, you know, nobody commits more crime than us. Be for real.
Yeah, when they use the word crime, they're really talking about just violent crime. Because when we look at like financial crime, who's really committing that the most?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be an insider to commit that type of crime anyway.
And that's what we were talking about off camera before we got started, right? Yeah. Like the biggest financial crimes taking place are not coming from immigrants.
Yeah.
They're from people who are on the inside.
Yeah, and it's not coming from people who in the hood who don't even know. They don't like no, they might stick people up, but they're not stealing $10 million on insider trading. Like
and they're doing it to each other. Like black people commit crimes against other black people. Who really
because
cares?
crime is based off of proximity.
You think they care about that? We're tired of black on black crime. No, as long as you don't bring it over to our neighborhood, we don't care. Kill each other all for all we care.
Just stay over there and that.
No, and then when immigrants come over here, sadly, after establishing themselves for a little while, next thing you know, they're voting Republican anyway. So because for real, like how many Mexicans live in Texas that after one generation they get a little bit of money and all of a sudden they want to disassociate themselves with black people or poor people and all of a sudden they're voting Republican.
About everybody. They say that about black people too, because like as soon as you get a few dollars,
it's the truth.
Now you vote conservative for your taxes.
We got a little story later on in the show about something similar. But seriously though, it's like immigrants a lot of times. I hate to say this because my family came over here as refugees. But they turn into sellouts anyway. So it's a lot of fear-mongering of that they don't want the face of America to change. It doesn't even have to do with constituencies because how many Cubans live in Florida that are not Afro-Cubans that look like straight white people and they all vote Republican? Look at Ron DeSantis. You think he's a European
No, he
American?
definitely like he mixed with a little Cuban. He definitely like he got some Cuban in him for sure.
And then it's the confusion too about like the whole Spanish thing, right? Spanish came from the country of Spain, which is a European country. So unless you are Afro-Latina or Afro-Spanish, Spanish is white.
Yeah.
Like Spanish as in the country of Spain, that's a European country.
Yeah. Like I was saying with Nadia,
colonization-
like she white. Like Nadia is white.
That's what I'm saying. The colonialization was split between the British English speaking and the Spanish Spaniards. That's
Yep.
it. Like those are the two people who France and them only did a little light work, you know? Just saying.
Yeah, man, we can go on that one all day. That's definitely. I hope that idea gets shut down. Like, don't know nobody picked that show up because I just don't think it makes sense. And whoever picks it up, they're gonna get blowback and backlash.
And don't tune in. If it does get picked up, how you can show.
I mean, I don't see myself just sitting up watching that anyway. But I can see a lot of conservative,
Somebody's
poor, live in Alabama type of people who swear they hate immigrants. I can see them watching that for sure. But I
Somebody's
mean,
gonna
I don't
watch
want
it,
to watch no
unfortunately.
shit like that.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move along?
Yeah. Let's move on. My guy, man, Governor Wes Moore. So a lot of people don't know Governor Wes. He's like one of the only black governors in America. It's him and shit. I can't really think of no other black governors right now, right off the bat.
Yeah, they're really.
Yeah,
not a lot.
he's definitely the first black governor of Maryland. I read his book when I was in like 4th grade. So just a brief, quick story. Cliff, have you ever heard of the Goodfella box?
I don't think so.
So the Goodfella box is, I don't know if this is a Michigan thing or whatever, but I grew up and, we was poor. So the Goodfella box is kind of like the government sends you, based off of your age, they send you a care package every Christmas. And they give you books, they give you underwear, they give you gloves, they give you hats, scarves. They might give you a toy or two. They gave me books. So, like, I got a book with Shaq, and I found out, we got the same birthday. I had a book with Governor Wes Moore. It's called The Other Wes Moore. And basically, he got famous because he wrote a book, because it was a guy that looked identical to him, was like 2 years older than him with the same exact name from the same neighborhood. He turned out to be successful. This is before he obviously became the governor. And the other guy became a criminal. He murdered somebody and, he went to jail. So when Westmore was on the news, everybody thought it was him because he was like your prodigy kid coming out. They're like, oh my God, like whatever. He's successful. He threw his life away. And then he like, no, that's not me. And he realized like, wow, it's a guy that basically is damn like my twin or like my big brother. So he started writing them, New York Times bestseller, whatever. That's how he became famous. Started doing nonprofit community work, whatever. Well, now he's the governor, and he just vetoed a bill, a dozen bills, but one including reparations, a reparations study. And a lot of people seen that and they got mad because
they didn't know.
A lot of these groups like the NAACP and all that, they just want to keep studying reparations. They just want numbers. They want headlines. They want the conversation.
Yeah.
He basically said in a letter, he said, now is not the time for another study. Instead, we are committed to action and delivering results. And he also spoke about, the impact of slavery in Maryland and how that's all connected. I don't know if Maryland was a part of the 13 colonies. I don't know. I have to think about that. Y'all remember that? I don't know. So we have to look into that.
I think it was.
So, that runs deep in Maryland. Like, Maryland is blackety black now, but like it runs deep. So he said he's not interested in a study. He's interested in action, community work, impact, etc. So
Period.
when you guys heard that, I'm going to come to you, Cliff.
Yeah.
When you hear reparations study,
Yeah.
what do you think?
It immediately reminds me of corporate America and how we're always taking surveys as employees.
Oh, my God.
And nothing changes.
Nothing.
We don't need any more studies, any more data, any more homework. We already know what needs to happen or who's been affected or who was the underserved, who got the lesser hand in this situation. There's not another study that's going to change anything. So personally, I don't see anything wrong with him saying, bump the study, let's just get to figuring out some things. Because, again, when I think about being in a professional workplace, it's always, you came to this conference, take this survey. How'd you like this? Or this is how we're currently set up. Take this survey. Let's figure something out. And then there's no real action that comes from the survey. It's just sounding like a productive thing to do to get people's thoughts. But for what? Are we going to move the needle or not?
Shorty, what you think about the reparation study? Should we spend our tax dollars on reparation studies?
No, the government knows what they did. They have everything all logged in. So there's nothing to study. If anybody needs to study anything, it's the citizens need to study how they can get some lawsuits going at the state level, especially if you know that your last name is attached to, because see, a lot of people live in, small cities and small towns where they know that their last name is Woodruff.
Yeah.
And they know that Woodruff Park and the Woodruff Arts Center for Arts and all, like if you know that the Woodruff family owns your family, then you need to get some.
It's very straightforward.
You need to get some lawsuits going on at the state level. So research needs to be done as to what paperwork needs to be filed and how do we need to team up, or if we're going to sue at a federal level, do we need to go study what the international courts guidelines and requirements are? That's the studying that needs to be going on with the black folks trying to figure out how they can get their money. But as far as the government doing research, that's laughable.
To play devil's advocate. We did a study. I mean, not we did a study. We reported on a study. Do y'all remember in like 2021 in California when they did a reparation study and they found that the beach house that was owned by the government was stolen in like in the 1800s from a family, and that family was still living in LA, and they gave that beach house back to that family.
Correct.
And they rented the beach house from the family.
Correct.
And they rented it out for like 3-4 years for $400,000, and then that family actually sold the beach house back to the government for like $28 million. So that came from a study. Mm-hmm. Now that's not gonna be every time, but my problem is we're gonna do all this studying and shit like that's gonna come up and it's gonna get swept under the rug. We just did Decatur, Georgia, right on the corner. They're doing a study on reparations. So it's like, okay, if you do a study and you found out that the goddamn land that the Falcons arena, you know what I'm saying, was owned by a bunch of,
and it was, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. Now what we gonna do? Are we gonna go and say, hey, part of this is actually for these families? They're not gonna do it. So
it depends though, because to me, enough bad press will make people settle out. So money is being given all the time. It's just, is it getting put in the right hands, right? Like you have corporations like Bank of Wachovia, right? Who it got put out that they had slave ties when they were still Wells Fargo or before they merged with Wells Fargo or whatever, right? And so because they were getting some bad press about it, they put out a formal apology and they wrote a big ass check, right?
Yeah.
But I think
same thing with New York Life. I don't know if they really wrote no checks.
But I think the check went to like the United Negro College Fund or something like that, right?
NAACP,
so it's like,
all the,
that's what I'm saying. So money is being distributed, right?
Yeah.
But is it being distributed correctly? So I do think that filing lawsuits, it's tedious, it takes time, it takes work, it takes money.
Yeah, it takes.
But I think that lawsuits combined
lawyers
with bad press will start to shake some results. You just gotta keep applying that pressure.
I'm curious, what's the timeline between we got the results of the study and we're cutting a check? Because I think when there's other agendas that they want to support, they find the money quick to sell it out, whether it's for another country's aid
I think
or
the problem
whatever.
is, I think the problem is like with the LA situation, the beach house. It was so clear cut and dry because it was only 2 owners of that land, and the owners was that family and then the government. So now it's like, oh, the government took this beachfront property, then they sold it for $28 million. Let's be honest, a beachfront property in LA,
way more than
we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So
but
they
I'm
really
sure it
ripped
made a
them off,
difference, though,
for
that family.
Of course, they ripped them off on that, but if we really being honest, like they supposed to got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and they probably had way more land than they actually gave them. So unless we have clear cut studies like that where it was only one owner and then the owner now is the government or some private business or something like that or some community, that's when it's going to be easy to litigate. But think about like my granddad. He got his land taken in the fucking 1800s or 1890. They migrated up to Detroit. Like, we don't know. Like, that didn't exchange hands 50, 60 times. So, like, now, here I am. They litigate. They ain't gonna know to give it to me because it didn't exchange so many families. It's like, where's the results gonna go? And I think that's where a lot of people, that's basically what people are mad at. They're like, hey, we want to know because the LA beachfront property came out of a study, but it's like, how many studies have they do 10 damn near every city around here got a study going
But
on.
the study can't be by the same party
People.
that
Yeah.
made the problem in the first place.
Exactly.
I challenge black lawyers, black
Oh, they not about to do
judges,
shit.
black-
Oh
but-
my
But
God, them
that's
lawyers
too
ain't about to
bad.
do
But
shit.
that's too bad, and that's what I'm saying is if we can't advocate on the civilian side
Yeah.
with each other, with the people that have those types of skills, if everybody's just worried about their own pockets, we're not going anywhere.
Them black lawyers ain't about to do shit.
That's true.
No, they are not about to do anything.
Yeah.
But that's why we need more. We need to basically do what other communities do, right? Which is that if I have this heart that I have, right, and I'm like, man, I really want to help black people. I want to go to law school, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
We got to be able to have 5, 6 people who will say, you know what, this girl can really help us. She got a lot of potential. Why don't you put this amount of money in? You put this amount of money in. We're going to put her through law school, right? And then that way she can turn around and
Yeah.
help us, and then I can still work as a lawyer
Yeah.
to make money on my
Good
own,
luck.
right? But I'm just saying, like,
we just talked about this
we're
yesterday.
talking. We're always looking at the short game.
I've
We're never
listen,
looking at the long
2024,
game.
2024. I've been involved in 3 lawsuits. Finding a black lawyer that literally litigates is like pulling teeth. Like I know a bunch of black lawyers. A lot of them don't litigate. A lot of them like they either do like personal injury litigation, which I mean you're helping the community, but you're really just trying to get a check.
Yeah.
That's cool. You're not really making no real impact. Trying to find a black attorney that's good, that's willing to, because you got to think about it. If you're litigating against the government, like
It
shit
doesn't
comes
always
with
have,
that.
It
Shit
doesn't
comes with
always have
that.
to lead to litigation. A lot of times there's payouts way
Yeah.
before it
Settle
actually
before
makes it
that,
court.
yeah.
If people see that you got enough paperwork and enough real stuff that
Yes.
when they know when they go to court, if they get a judgment, it's going to be times 10 what you're actually asking for on the front end.
They're settled.
They will settle. They will pay you out. Like it's
Yeah.
about being consistent and it's about the long game and putting people in a position that you know can help people. Like it's because what happens is that if I take out $100,000 in student loans to go to law school on my own, right? And then I'm a graduate, but I got $100,000 in student loan, and then you asking me to do some pro bono stuff to help the community. It's
Yeah.
like, man, I got to pay back my loans and try
Exactly, and I'm gonna get caught up. I'm working in
and
big
pay my
law,
bills.
and now I'm like,
But
I
that's what
gotta
I'm saying. When it comes to lawyers, when it comes to lobbyists, when it comes to construction, when it comes to business ownership,
Yeah.
we like are not working together. And I know there's more deeply rooted issues that we could go on for a week about, but we're not working together.
Speaking of settlements, we got a big
I was just
settlement
thinking that.
you
yeah.
wanted to talk
yeah,
about.
I was just as soon as you said settlement, I'm like, we got one. Google, right? Expected to pay $50 million to settle a lawsuit for essentially underpaying and holding back the progression of their black employees.
Yeah.
Right. And then the fun part about this to me is only 4,000 of their employees were black in the first place. Right, which makes up less than 5% of all the people who work there.
4.4.
Because there's
by the way.
182,000 Google employees.
That's a lot. And this hits home for me because I have family that works for Google, right?
Yeah.
And this is specifically affecting the employees in New York and California. And he was in California when he started, right?
Right,
Now
right.
he's remote, able to go other places, but still has to go back there sometimes. But hopefully, there's no personal effects to him directly from it. But this just raises a major red flag, obviously, because we could always argue that we know systems are designed to underpay us and not promote us, but when companies are actually held accountable for it, and then they do end up having to cut a check, okay, it's like maybe there is possible progress, but the number 50 million sounds like a lot when you throw it out there.
Oh my
not.
God!
But when you
Google's
look at a
worth
company
$1
like
trillion.
Google, it's like
being split between how many people?
4,000.
4,000.
And then the
if
lawyers-
there
hold on,
were-
the
if
lawyers
there were
take
50
33?
people and it was 50 million, they would each get
It would-
1
it would
million,
feel
right?
good.
But
So
you're talking about 4,000
The
people.
lawyers get 33%, so 50 million is not really 50 million. The lawyer's
course.
gonna get a third of that, and then like you said, it's getting divided by 4,000 people.
4,000 people.
So we can do the math real quick and realize like,
Yeah.
then they're gonna probably give them cash. They ain't gonna give them stock. So then that's gonna get taxed by the government. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna get taxed because it's a lawsuit.
It's giving Fashion Nova. It's giving
yeah.
the $16.79.
Yeah, and they what's crazy about this? They said one young lady named April said she was hired from an HBCU. I mean, she was recruited from an HBCU. And she said immediately she was stereotyped, denied promotions, and eventually fired after flagging, the biases and kind of bringing up this whole thing about the lawsuits. And they were labeled as not googly enough. Which they always say that in corporate America, and they be like,
You don't fit the
you
company
don't,
culture.
yeah, company culture. What does that mean? You black.
Yeah, you don't look like us. You don't talk like us.
Hey, what's that? Man, it's a comedian online. He did a skit about how like white clubs be like stereotyping against black people, and they try to find any and everything. Like, oh man, we no jeans,
So
man.
it happened to me before.
Oh,
Like-
D-Ray, he was like, we're not doing eyebrows
Yeah,
today.
no jeans, no glasses, no your haircut's too low. No watches, man. No, and then
man.
other white people just walking in breaking all the
With
rules.
all that on, yeah.
And then he's like, look, man, you black. You black. After he just look, you black, man. We don't let you in. And it was funny, but
So sadly,
It's
true.
real. That's happened to me on two
Bro.
separate occasions.
Oh, it happened to me a month ago in Miami. Sexy fish. Never going there ever again.
I mean, they even have dress codes. And if you put a certain dress code, that they're gonna, it's gonna attract a certain crowd or keep a certain crowd out just by stereotyping, the outfits or the culture that we have. And 50 million Google, that should be 500.
That's chump change, man.
That's some. They stock just went up. They stock go up 1%.
They don't feel
That's $1
$50
billion,
million.
bro. They worth $1 trillion.
They don't feel
It's
it.
definitely not going to be a lesson learned for them. So
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous. Speaking of jobs in corporate America, Shorty, you got to tell us about this study that they just did with the black women. The jobs.
So Bloomberg is noting that the unemployment rate for black women was a full percentage point higher at 6.1 compared to 5.1 in March. So in the last month, the percentage has gone up, and black women are the biggest victims.
The
And
biggest victims of
being
DEI,
laid off. Yeah, I mean, I think
government
it's just
jobs.
government jobs. It's all a crisis right now with the whole Donald Trump, rolling back on DEI and then rolling back on federal jobs,
Yeah.
period, in general. So they're targeting federal employees, even though Donald Trump and everybody on Capitol Hill are all federal employees too. But they're after our jobs, and apparently black women are losing their jobs at a higher rate than everyone else.
Yeah, they said black women lost 38,000 jobs, and that went up to 106 over the last. What's that over the last? Is that the last quarter? Hold on, let me see that. Hold on, I actually wrote it down.
Another
up here.
1% is just from March to now.
Okay, so that was, but no, it was one that said, hold on. In April of 2025, black women experienced the most significant job loss among all demographics, according to a report by Afrotech. Data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics indicate that black women lost 38,000 jobs during the month. That's what you just reported on. Where's the one about the government, though? Okay, as a result, the number of black women employed in federal jobs has decreased by an estimate 33%.
Wow.
Over the past year. Now, that means it was going down during the Biden era, and then when Trump got in, it just got
A big boom.
slashed. A
Yeah.
big boom because DEI, and we know white women were the biggest beneficiaries of DEI, and then next it was black women because they're double minority, a woman, and you're black, whatever. So a lot of those DEI roles were full of women, minorities, people of color, So when Trump came in and slashed all of those, he's also slashing, not only is he slashing the DEI, he's also slashing the federal contracts and things like that. So this number really doesn't reflect all of the impact of cutting federal money. Maryland, Virginia, D.C., a lot of those women that got cut from these jobs, we're not talking Walmart jobs. Like, these are jobs that, like, I know a lot of black women that work in D.C., Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. They are making real money. We're talking 150,000, 200,000. These are real six-figure jobs that have just been slashed overnight.
Yeah, but they're under attack because you got to remember, like, I think at the core of it, aside from the whole war on federal employees and saying that we're paying them too much from our own tax dollars, I think with the whole woman gender issue in particular, there's a low birth rate happening in the United States right
Yeah.
now. And so they really seriously want women at home having babies.
So
and
you think
white
that's
women,
strategic against
yeah,
women?
it all goes together. They want white women at home giving birth, okay?
Facts.
And if we're really honest with ourselves, white women were at the forefront of the women's revolution.
Yeah.
They started it first. Black women fell in line with them, right?
Right.
And so it's a problem when women become educated. It's a problem when they get older. They don't want women starting to consider marriage at 30 years old. Because a 30-year-old woman who can pay all her own bills is going to be way more selective about whether
Then
or
a
not she gets
20-year-old
married.
who can't pay nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who she marries is going to matter to her. If she gets married at all is going to matter to her. How many children she has. Women are speaking out saying, I only get 3 weeks of maternity leave. My husband's going to get no maternity leave. If he does get some maternity
Yeah.
leave, is he really going to wake up in the middle of the night to help me with the baby? Like, white women in particular are at a spot where they're really fed up with the opposite gender. They really are, and they take it out on everybody, including black women. And so they're basically trying to legislate women back into motherhood.
Yeah.
They're making it illegal for you to
Abortion-
get
that's it.
abortion.
Abortion laws.
They're
yeah.
making it difficult for you to get a job because remember, women only got the right to even have their own bank account and credit card in 1974.
70s, yeah.
1974.
That's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a lot of times women were getting married because they really didn't have a financial option on how to survive and
you
how to
can't-
sustain themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a war on women at every single level because what they don't want is these low birth rates. They don't want women saying, I'm good, I don't want kids, or I had one kid, I'm good, I don't need more. Like, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
So-
and so that's why he's trying to say, I'll give you $5,000 if you have a baby.
$5,000 is crazy.
I-
No,
but
that's no money.
But that's how
literally
much
no
they
money.
insult us right in our face. It's okay. Well, let me offer you $5,000 to have a baby. Okay, well that's not gonna work. Well, how about if I just take your job altogether? Now, how are you gonna take care of yourself? How about if I just make it harder for you to get in college and get the degree that would help you to make more money? What you gonna
Or
do
now all of these women, especially black women, that got all these degrees, and now it's like, oh, degrees are worthless now.
So that's
Now
what I was
degrees are
going to say. I want your perspective on this, Shorty. So black women are leading in getting degrees, which also means they're leading in student loan debt.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me y'all don't have jobs. So what is that doing to their net worth, right? It's going in the opposite direction. What are your thoughts and perspectives on there was this big push to go to school. They went to school, took on all the debt. Now they're taking away the jobs that they have and wanting you to stay home and raise babies instead of work and earn income.
So my opinion on that is the same across the board, whether you're a man or a woman. College was a scam that came out in our generation, and so
I don't like
I'm
when
so
people
glad
say
you
that.
said
I
it.
do not like. I
it-
don't
No,
like
I'm
that.
glad you said
no,
it.
it's a scam, and this is why I say it.
I'll say student
our-
loans are a scam for sure.
Well, school to the point where you have to take out student loans.
Yes.
So our grandparents' generation was able to get through 4 years of college on $1,000, right? And I understand that money changes, inflation changes, right? But even when you crunch the numbers
Yeah.
with the inflation from then to now,
I think
we're
college
spending
went up
more-
16% a year with inflation or something
Okay.
like that.
So that's what I'm
better
saying.
than the market.
So you don't need to go to college unless you need to go to college. If you're going to college for a specialized pathway, a specialized job
Yeah.
that you can't get without this college
A
degree,
brain surgeon.
if you're going to go
Yeah.
to college to get a degree that's going to get you a return on your investment, or you got a free scholarship, a way to go to college where you don't have to take out student loans, if your parents don't make a lot of money and then the Pell Grant is going to pay 90% of it and you only got to take out a couple thousand, then do it, right? But if you have to go to college and take out a bunch of student
100 grand,
loans
200,
that you're
yeah.
not going to be able to pay back, then just don't do it altogether because you're throwing the opportunity for home ownership out the window. And James, I say this all the time. We talk about this like dang near every episode. Home ownership has to do with your debt to income ratio.
Correct.
So you don't necessarily have to make a whole
Yep.
bunch of money, but you damn sure can't have debt and make no money.
Because when you have debt, what they do is take 1% of that debt, or not 1%. They'll take. It depends. So if you have let's say you got $100,000 student loans, and you have a monthly payment that you're paying, they're going to use that monthly payment against your debt to income ratio.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's say if you don't have any debt. I mean, let's say you don't have any payment because it's in deferment or you just haven't been paying it or whatever. They're going to take like 5% of your total student loan debt and say that's your payment. So if you if you got $100,000, 5% of that, you see what I'm saying? Now you got a $500 monthly payment. That's the damn mortgage. So now they like, well, you don't qualify now when we.
So now you can't get the house.
Yeah.
So now you have to rent, right? And we know that rent inflation is like this. It's like this.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going up, 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 up. So now you're stuck in a rent. You're stuck in a job that you don't like, all because you got to pay these student loans. Stop going to college. Like, if you have to take out more money than you're going to be able
Here's
to
my
make
problem
when
with
you
that,
get
though.
out, I'm just...
Here's my problem with that. Because I want to get online and say that. The problem is, and I tell people, like, I'm from the hood, the bottom of the bottom. The best thing in my life was going to college because I was able to get out the hood. It wasn't college.
Did you go into debt, though?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got enough money to write a check to pay the student loans off. I'm just not paying them because I just don't, because I just invest the money. I could have been paid my student loans off based off of my first job. I'm just not paying them. I'm just pay them monthly and, ride it out. My estate gonna pay that shit. Fuck that. But here's the problem. When we say don't go to college, and I can only speak to black men. I can't speak to black women because black women going to college, they killing it. If you tell a black man don't go to college, most of the times he ain't gonna do shit because he ain't about to go get no trade.
Yeah.
Like if we
Well,
say
you got to do that.
right, but that's the thing. It's always a don't do this, but it ain't no other.
What else you should do?
Do this, do that.
There's a list of things you should do.
But that's not sexy to people. So a lot of black men, and I'm just thinking from being a young black man, a lot of black men grow up and they see the flashy cars, they see my Cardis, they see your watch, so they want money fast, blowing money fast, right? That's what they want. So the idea of college, like, damn, I don't want to work for nobody. I want to be an entrepreneur, right? But then it's like, okay, I don't really know how to run a business. I don't want to work for this. I don't want to go to college. And you would think they'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to just go become a plumber. I'm going to become an electrician. I'm going to become this. No, I'm going to go to the league or rap or scam. And it just goes downhill. It goes from go to the league, rap, and now I'm a scammer or I'm hitting licks, so I'm doing it. So it's like, it don't go from go to the league, rap, college. You know what? I'm gonna be a plumber. You know what? I'm gonna be an electrician. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a roofer. It don't go that. It don't go like that. They go right from rap, league, scam.
Yeah, and then in Detroit, you go to the plant,
forefront.
right? You go to the plant, and going to the plant at some point was a great job, and it still could be considered that. But then we run into the issue of the way AI is advancing in a minute. A lot of those
you're gonna need one person on the whole plant line.
Bro.
Yeah, you just
a robot doing it all. I heard at Amazon people getting kicked out. The same person that was picking up the boxes at Amazon 2-3 years
now
ago.
Now they got a forklift doing it.
It's a robot on autopilot doing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need to bring what the other options are to the forefront and continue to push those and market them in a way that would be sexy, like what you're saying. But to me, if what you're going to college for is not going to make money, and you're just going to say that you went to go to the military so that you can get some forever money, so that you can get a GI Bill, so that you can have zero down payment on your house.
There are reports that black men going to college is down, but black men enrolling into the military is up. So I do want to put that out there that a lot of black men, and I respect that. That to me, a black man going to the Army, the Navy, something like that, that's equivalent to college to me. And that's how a lot of people do it in the corporate America. Oh, I didn't go to college, but I did 4 years in the Army or 8 years in the Army. So.
And then if you do want to go to college later on, they gonna pay for it.
But a lot of people that get out of college, they get like out of the Army, they get like $4 or $5 grand a month
on that disability
for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll set you
That's
up.
A pension.
And they get free medical, and when they buy a house, they don't have to put zero down payment.
Zero down.
Education paid for their kids.
Education paid for their kids. So many different benefits, but I think that we need to continue to push the other options. So even if you feel like it's harsh to say don't go to college, I understand what you're saying.
Because motherfuckers just sit around and just sit on the couch and watch Kai Cenat all day. They don't even do nothing.
Well, let's start marketing the other stuff as accessible, desirable, and that sort of thing. Because to be honest with you, if it was like back in the day what they said, oh, go to 4 years of college, as soon as you graduate, you're going to have a job and your life will be changed forever. Yeah. If that dream was true, if they hadn't lied to us, then that would be fun. But that was a lie. That was a lie so that they could make money. It was a lie so that they could make money. The same housing bubble, the education was a bubble as well. That's a big old scam, man.
I have one more question for y'all before we wrap this up. Now, FAMU Board of Selection Committee has selected a lifelong Republican, Marva Johnson, to be their next president. A lot of people call her MAGA. I don't really see her as MAGA because she's not really up behind President Trump coattail, but she's up behind Ron DeSantis, which is the governor of Florida. Like that's their buddy, whatever. She currently serves as vice president in state of government affairs for Charter Communications. So she has leadership experience. She don't have any leadership experience in terms of education. Prominent alumni like Will Packer spoke out about her, how she's very dangerous for FAMU, and the board of selection committee actually selected her over 3 other people who had better qualifications. But my question to y'all is, can black people be Republicans? Because I think the only reason people are criticizing her is because she's Republican. Because if she was a Democrat, with all these other accolades, people would be applauding her and saying she's definitely qualified. Oh my God, why would you? People would have never said she's not qualified. Like, you can't speak against a black woman. She a lawyer. She got her JD from Georgia State. She's a corporate executive right now. And to say, I've seen a lot of people say, well, she ain't got no education experience. Well, neither does the president of the United States.
Yeah.
That motherfucker broke he shattered everything, because you don't need to be qualified if somebody selects you.
Right.
So I don't know her at all. This is my first time ever hearing about her. But I find it very interesting that everybody's trying to critique her and say she's not qualified as a leader to run FAMU simply. And when it all boils down, it's because she's Republican. Because if she was a Democrat and had all of these other accolades, you wouldn't fix your lips to say she don't deserve to be the president of, FAMU. So,
look, the 2 major things that, if nobody wants to address it, I'll call it out. HBCUs are missing is organization, just in general, and especially organization around their money, financial aid department, et cetera, et cetera. If somebody can come in and reorganize that and structure it, I don't care what political party they affiliate with. Can they move the needle in a positive direction, regardless of how they identify politically? That's my stance on it. Simple as that.
That sounds good, but
It sounds good. Black Republicans are problematic for me unless we as black people decide that we want to come up with a new agenda, and then we want to take over the Republican Party to assert that agenda, right? But a few of us sprinkled in there among the larger party that's trying to harm us every single day, we're not making the difference. So if we wanted to take over the party, like a middle ground, right? We're like, oh, we don't feel like Democrats are really getting anything done. We feel like they're gaslighting us. Okay, Republicans are in our face, basically calling us the N-word, right? We want to come with a middle ground. We want to have the conservatism in this area we like, right? And we like the progressiveness of this, right? And then we want to kind of create this new thing. And then this election, we're all going to go in and vote for these black people to all be Republicans and then take over it as a party, like what they did during slavery. Yeah. Because remember, the Republicans, black people were Republicans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at one point, the white people came up with their own agenda and they said, we're going to take over the party. And that's what they did. Yeah. So if we did that, then that would be great. But like I said, a few of us sprinkled into a toxic party.
I think the big problem with being Democrat or Republican in general is just it's no organization and it's no real, like if you ask 100 black people, what do you want President Trump, President Obama, President Bush, no matter what president, to do for black people? It's going to be 1,000 different things, and they end up not doing nothing. Because black men, we're going to want police reform, economic development. Black women, they're going to want control over their bodies, other things that benefit them from their lifestyle. And it's just a whole laundry list of things. And then, nothing ends up getting done. So
you need to be on a united front, right? And again, if it can be organized, is what I think matters most. Mm-hmm.
Good luck with the organization.
She's in the spot, though, right?
Well, she has to get approved by. So she got approved. She got selected by the board, and then it's like the board of governors or some shit like that has to actually put the stamp on it, but. Well, she's 90% there. They just need to sign the dotted line. Yeah.
Well, I think once she gets in, are we going to pay attention to what she does, or are we going to just, complain about her on the front end?
I think people just going to complain on the front end.
Yeah, watch what she does. Let's see if she moves the needle, like you said.
All right, guys, appreciate you for rocking with us. You know how we do. We come every week. with Shorty. She coming bringing all the all the sauce. She help us out, man. I'm really appreciative of you because you balance out. Usually it's just me and you, and we never know how each other are going to come on any topic, and that's always good, and it make a very good podcast. So let people know how they can connect with you, how they can follow you, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm most active on the gram, so follow me on the gram, Shorty Mack ATL.
All right, and Cliff, our guest. We ain't even introduce you.
No introduction today. It's all good, man.
Just threw you to the
Hey,
wolves.
it's all good. I'm gonna run with it. But yeah, on the gram is where you can find me, Clift Roach, CliftroAch.
All right, guys, and y'all already know James Hill, CEO of Black Millionaires, where to find me at James Hill TV. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Black Millionaires _, and get our YouTube popping. We're gonna promise you guys we're gonna be more active on the YouTube front because y'all be always asking where the podcast, where this, where that. We're coming 2-3 times a week, back and forth. Appreciate you guys.